You wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. That's out of context. That's not really what we're talking about. And they're doing it on their own. They're not being manipulated or convinced. I just was following other people's advice. I don't know what happened. You know, oh, that. Hey everybody, welcome to an impromptu, unscheduled live stream. I think it's the only live stream I may have done this entire month. So figured I gotta squeeze one in before we run out of time because time is quickly going away. Hopefully you can hear and see me. If you can, be sure to say something in the live stream comments so that I know that I remember how to do this stuff because it's been a while. Let's see here. Let me try to find my slides because I forgot those. There we go. I just move it over here and click the right button and all that kind of stuff. Let me come back over here, hit the right button. All right. So where is it? There it is. Welcome to Break the Cycle with DSD. I am your host, Duane. I am not a therapist nor an attorney. I'm an individual much like you who's gone through a tough experience, approximately 9 years, figured a way out of it, figured a path, and I share that with you to help you get your life back, break the cycle of emotional abuse, help repair the relationship with your kids, and just minimize the damage of the crazy that happens with a toxic ex. Remember, only a licensed professional can diagnose a person with a personality disorder, so do not go around throwing around terms saying, oh, my ex is a NPD, BPD, they're psychopath, they're cluster B, you know, to just find out what the behaviors are, focus on that, but don't play therapist, don't go around telling people what you think because it will hurt your credibility, and your credibility is the only thing you got in this, and don't squander it on the off chance that you can make these people pay for something. Just don't do it. It ain't worth it. I know I haven't been doing much, but if you like what I got going on here and you want to support, consider becoming a channel member. When you do, you get special badges next to your name, custom emojis. You can even do the boop emojis, your name listed in the credits, and access to member-only Discord and some member-only events. So it helps keeps the lights on. You can just scroll down, and if you don't see a join button in the video description, there is a link for that. So the smallest thing is like, I don't know, $2. It all helps out. If you want to get notified via text message when I go live, which is the best way right now to get notified, is text DSDLIVE to 844-598-0012, and you will be added on to the super cool DSD text notification list. And hopefully, if you're on that, you should have got a text message about 4 minutes ago saying, hey, we're live right now. So hopefully you found that. If I did it correctly, the phone lines are open. If you want to participate, you can call 1-424-373-5483 or 1-424-DSD-LIVE to add into, or get your voice on the show. So let me just double check everything to make sure I have everything running. I see comments coming, see a few people on already. So thank you guys for going, hey, he went live. Let's see what's going on. Let me see who we got. We got a few people on right now. We got the Wise Chat Manager. Roy is on. Al is on. Bears. I haven't seen Bears in a while. I guess I haven't been on in a while, so I guess I can't say that. Arpana. Metatech, a narcissism abuse survivor. T-Solo. James F. Hey, man, haven't seen you around in a long time. 11 kids. Shane. Dezek. T-Solo, Warrior, Carrie Turner. Let's see. If I miss anybody, I apologize. Miami Babe. We got, who else we got here? We got a super chat from the Wise Chat Manager. Let me see if I can remember how to do this. It says, from the Wise Chat Manager, an honor to Tiff, who is likely working. Tiff is like single-handedly the super chat queen for the channel. So thanks so much for that, Wise. I appreciate it. You know, I think, oh, hide comment. I'm gonna say, I thought I had a button programmed on my little thing. So let's see. Anyways, man, how you guys doing? I want to try to show you something real quick if I can remember how to do this. So I went in and I got my eyes checked today. I come to find out I haven't got a new pair of glasses since 2018, and the pair I had at 2018 was not a good pair. So I finally, because well, you can't see it, but I scratched my glasses right in the middle of where my vision is. So now I have to like look around that. It's really kind of frustrating, makes things a little difficult. So went in today, gosh darn it. I thought I sent this picture to me. So I went in today and got my eyes checked, and let me see if I can pull this up, because I want to show you guys this. I don't know if you'll be interested, but I'm interested. Okay, selected photo. All right, send it here. Like, you probably hear a little beeping noise. It's sending it. Received it. And where did it put it? Let me click here. Will that show it? Like, can I open it? There we go. Oh my God, this is just this is insane. Hold on, let me do this. And I don't know if you got. Let me see. I'll pull it back over here. I'll go to Chrome. Oh, it's right on the screen. Okay, so if can I zoom this in at all? I guess I can't. Or can I? Yeah, there we go. Look at that. My freaking eyeballs look like I'm a in-life anime character. Fortunately, my daughter, I volunteered her to take me and drive me because it's an hour away. So I did that. Got that done today. My vision's fine. Well, not vision's back, but my eyes are finally not what do you call it? Not messed up like that. So is that a DUI photo? Dude, man, it felt like it. We went to eat breakfast, late brunch, I guess, after that. And I swear, I think one person was looking at me and thought I was probably high because my eyeballs were, it was weird. Dilated. That's what it was. Dilated. Thank you, Shane. I appreciate that. Yeah, I haven't done that in the longest time because I haven't been able to they said, well, you can't drive afterwards. And I had no one to drive me. So anyways, pretty exciting stuff. Fortunately, got the clean bill of health on my eyes, even with my diabetes. They said, hey, no, I can't remember what the term is for eye damage with diabetes. So at least I didn't have that. So yeah, that was fun. All right, you know what? Let's see here. I got a couple of calls. So I'm going to go to line 2, and I forgot to turn the caller ID on. So it says just update, and I almost hit the wrong button. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, Duane.
Hey, how's it going? Hey, man, what's going on with you?
Hey.
Well, that didn't work.
Not much. Just want to call for an update. First of all, that video that you put out of the camping trip, that was really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
I really hope that you do more of that.
Actually,
it's awesome.
Thanks. And as you're bringing that up, what I'm going to do is if anybody's watching going, what in the world are they talking about? If you go to YouTube, if I type YouTube correctly, YouTube, and you search on Duane Robert, you'll find this is the video he's talking about. But I have a whole nother channel that's basically focused on camping. So please go check that out and subscribe. I got 352 subscribers, and I got some videos, and you can see different stuff. And that was just an adventure I took by myself to go camping. So check it out. Thanks, man. I appreciate you mentioning that. So
yeah, it was really cool. It's like relaxing watching you like just enjoy the outdoors, and it's so nice. I've never been to California, but whenever I see your videos, like your camping videos, it makes me want to come out. It looks so beautiful.
California, and it's even more beautiful in Northern California. And I think we're going to take a trip later this month to Northern California, Washington, and Oregon, Washington. And that is some really beautiful. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm definitely going to, I mean, I don't know if I'll be able to do any DSD videos, but I will absolutely put it on the other channel. So what's going on, man? What's your update?
Oh
It's
my
been
God,
a while.
please do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so I think the last time that I called the cops on my ex, and then she didn't get arrested for, it was basically an exchange. She brought a toy,
Right.
and stuff like that. So, anyways, I think that night, yeah, I called because you had that show, and then we were mentioning about getting, like, after that whole thing, I messaged her about getting her ears pierced, and then my daughter was with me, and so she, as you know, Duane, these people like to tell you no when they have the ability to do it.
Oh, it's your favorite word,
so
no.
she told me no. Yeah, but it was kind of like I asked her right after the whole thing about the police incident where she almost got charged with like simple battery.
Right.
So she didn't read it until the day that I was going to invite her to come do it. So she saw it the morning of, because we have to message through this OFW app.
Right.
So she read it, and then she thought I was going to go ahead and get it done because, you know, I already asked and stuff like that. So she wanted to make sure that she said no to me. So she called me like 30 times that morning. She even called my sister and stuff like that. So then after that, I was like, you know what? I am fed up now at this point. So what I did was I filed for a temporary protection order on her on behalf of myself and my daughter.
Right.
And because of the whole thing about stalking me, trespassing my vehicle, and just all these incidents that have been occurring and stuff like that. So it was crazy how it's kind of like sad in a way how quick TPOs, they don't really take anything to really get granted. Like, you don't really have to tell too much to a judge, and it seems like they just grant things. So it was like it worked for me. Well, because it was legitimate, first of all.
Yeah.
But second of all, I can see how these false accusations really, I mean, they can happen so easily. I mean, you can lie and then have your kid taken away from you for a good bit.
Yeah, but
anyways,
did they approve the temporary, or did you have a hearing and they said, okay, we'll go ahead and keep this in place?
Yeah, so I had to go to a hearing that was, it's called an ex parte, so the other party doesn't know about it.
Yeah.
So I did that the Friday before Mother's Day, and I requested on behalf of my daughter and myself, and she granted it. So I was like, wow. So anyways, she doesn't know about it yet because this is like a secret thing, you know. They'll get served by the police, basically.
That still hasn't happened, or did it happen?
So it did happen. So it got granted, and then a couple of, and then she thought, so that it was a Friday, and then my ex thought it was her weekend, when it wasn't. She just was confused about the time. But anyways, then she didn't know that that I just got granted a TPO being away from her. So the whole exchanges thing, yeah, she wasn't able to see my daughter for like 2 weeks. But anyways, she thought it was her weekend. She didn't know about the TPO. So anyways, it came to exchange time on the Friday, and then she started calling me. So I was like, oh crap, she must have just like got served by the police or something like that. But then but anyways, I looked at the time. I was like, oh wait, she must think it's her parenting time. It's not her weekend. But anyways, I messaged her back in the app. I didn't pick up any of her phone calls, and I was just like, hey, it's my weekend. I didn't tell her anything about the protection order or anything. And anyway, she called the cops on me.
Of course.
I'm like, oh my God, she's so stupid. Yeah, she's so stupid.
So what happened?
This is why exactly. So the cops called me, and they left me a voicemail. Then I called them back, and they're like, yeah, we heard that she's saying that it's her parenting time. So I was like, yeah. I mean, I didn't say that. I said, no, it's not her parenting time. And second of all, she doesn't know this yet, but I have a protective order from her, like on behalf of my daughter and myself. They're like, okay, well, we don't see it in our system yet, because I guess it was granted like at 12 o'clock at lunch hour, and it was like 4. It was like a little after 5, so I guess it didn't show up in their system just yet. So anyways, they're like, all right, well, we're going to come over to your house and we're going to verify that you have those, that piece, basically that protection order.
Right. Piece of paper.
So I'm like, okay. So, yeah. So they come over. The first cop comes. He's, trying to verify information. Then the second cop comes. And then they're basically, the second cop escorted her to my house. Like, because she thought that she was going to, like, get her,
Right.
And so I was like, first of all, it's not her weekend, even if I didn't have this TPO. Second, I have a TPO. So really, she's not even allowed to be around here at this point. So anyway, they understood. They served her the TPO at my house. So it's funny. She drove like an hour away just to be served the TPO. I was like, idiot. I was like, you think that the way that you act, the way that you treated me, you think that this is like a good indication why I am getting a TPO from you, because you just called the police on me for nothing.
So what happened?
So,
because that was a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah. So, she left, and then, I went to, the following Monday, the Monday after Mother's Day, she didn't get to do it for Mother's Day, obviously. So, I got my daughter's ears pierced because I'm like, now I have full custody. Now I can make those decisions,
Right.
So, but I can't communicate that with her. I can't do any form of communication.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of a both way thing with the protective order.
Yeah. I'm like, you could have either just came with me to go get her ears pierced, or you could have, now you're doing it the hard way. Now it's like, I can make those decisions, and you're not you're not around. So now it's like, ear piercing is not a big deal, but it was like one of the things that if she could tell me no, she'd do it.
Yeah.
So anyways, so we go to court with both of our attorneys there. They dismissed it.
The TPO?
Even though we had like tons of evidence. Yeah. So that hearing is actually to get it extended for a whole year.
Right.
So we basically said that, she needs to pay for my attorney fees for bringing this, this action, this legal action. She needs to go get a psychological evaluation. She needs to.
That's what was ordered, or that's what you were asking for? We
were asking for all that.
Okay.
So I understood that it was kind of like a long. It was
shot.
like an uphill for like to be asking. Yeah, it was like a long shot. But I was like thinking, at a minimum, I can at least get a TPO up, like on my behalf, and maybe we could just meet at a police station,
Right.
So, anyways, their attorney was like, she's small, you're, really there's nothing to worry about safety-wise.
That's what her attorney, or that's what the judge said?
That's what her attorney was trying to do. It was basically like, she's not a threat.
She's a defenseless little butterfly. There's nothing she could do with you. Yeah. No, I hear you.
I know. It's like, okay, she could easily bring like another guy to these exchanges and like, or she can get a weapon, whatever.
Exactly.
That's not the point. She's crazy.
So anyway, what happened? What did the judge say?
So anyways, yeah. And then, basically the judge was like, she was like basically telling us that we're basically like, it looks like we're doing this tit for tat thing.
That's the risk of doing stuff like that.
The judge, because they're like, oh, didn't you do this right before Mother's Day? Like, that was my whole motive, was basically to get her to have this happen right before. I was like, I didn't even know anything about it. Yeah. And I was like, they're like, oh, he's just doing this out of spite. Like, he,
right. No, and they'll say that. Well, did they?
Or that's his motive.
Yeah. Yeah.
So basically the whole end of it was basically.
They dropped it. No, I was just going to say, see that, the problem with stuff like that is even if you're 100% spot on with it, you got to be careful, because the optics of it, if it looks wrong, it hurts you. Like what I was even saying in the beginning of when I started the podcast or the show, I mean, our credibility is our greatest resource. And if we accidentally or intentionally or whatever squander that, it's not a good thing. I mean, for the judge to turn around and be saying, well, you both are doing this tit for tat thing, that's dangerous territory. Now, did they drop the TPO completely?
Yeah, so now it just goes back to normal. So I'm like, she just told her before the end of the thing, she's like, if you ever go to his house again, like unannounced in the way that you did it, she's like, I'll have you arrested for criminal trespass.
Okay.
So that's what she told her.
All right.
So I was like, really? She really did break the law with stalking and all this other things, and she should have been charged with something. But again, it's like,
they don't ever do
not
that
to
in
like
family
offend
court.
any of the female viewers.
It has to.
Not to
It has to
offend any
be
of the
so.
female
Now, but the
viewers.
well, and I'm sorry. Well, you were going to say something, and I just interrupted you. To not offend the female viewers, what?
No. I was just going to say that I really do believe if this situation was flipped around, and I was doing the things that she was caught on camera doing,
yeah,
there would have been some sort of action against me. But since she's this petite, innocent little person, she gets away with these things, and I'm like, man, I just spent like thousands of dollars on an attorney to get this done.
Yeah.
So I was like pretty upset. I was upset about it, and I just thought about it for the weekend, and I just accepted it and just took it as a learning experience. But I basically told myself, was like, man, even having an attorney, and my attorney did a great job. I don't blame him for getting it dismissed. I mean, the judge is going to do what they're going to do. They have their opinions.
Oh yeah.
Even if they're not following the law.
No, and man, I mean,
I just said to my.
Well, okay, I can see the position.
I
can see the position you're in, because you're getting frustrated with it, and you're trying to prove a point, and hopefully you feel good about that. Hopefully, even though, like you said, you spend thousands of dollars, you've gone through this path, and maybe, just maybe, the judge saying, hey, you do this crap again, and it will get, maybe that's enough to do it. To cause some change. I mean, because the only time we ever get change on this is when the other person feels like, oh crap, I'm starting to get called on my actions, and worried that there's gonna be a consequence to it. But the flip side to it is you, and I preach this a lot, is you have to really pick your battles. I mean, in a lot of ways, like, what you were saying, because at the timing, it looks like you did it on purpose. It's easy to say, okay, you're a burly dude, this is a little butterfly, what in the world could this person really do to you? I mean, I know that's a sexist thing to way to look at it, and it's not appropriate. And, if she had a knife and she stuck it in your throat, well, then you're going to have a problem. I mean, and that type of stuff can happen. Yeah. But I mean, it's a really tough situation. Well, let me ask you this, so we can wrap it up and get to the next caller. Are you glad with, do you feel good about what you did? Or if you had to make that decision today, or tomorrow, would you do the same thing, or would you just let it go?
No, I still would have done it, just because it lets her know in her mind that you don't want to mess around with me.
Right.
Like, if you think that you're the type that can just get away with the things that you've done, and you want to use like the courts, the police, everything against me, all the tools at your disposal, I can do the same thing back, and it's not, I can do it better than you can. So even though it got dismissed, not because her attorney did a great job by any means, but I was just like, I did lose money, and a lot of money involved into it. She lost a lot of money involved into it.
Yeah.
But it really sets a barrier, like a boundary of like, don't mess with me. Well, otherwise, like, you're going to be dealing with legal consequences.
Yeah.
But anyways, the last thing I'll say is, for all the people that are like listening, when these things are happening and they're reoccurring, you want to call the police when it happens. You don't want to wait for the judge to hear it. Like, if you're like, she did this thing where she was like stalking me, and she was calling me multiple times. So I would have called the police when she was actually doing it. She would have got arrested. But since I waited, for a judge to hear it, then you lost that chance of actually getting it done, rather than having the second, like, then just wait, like, just hoping that a judge will do it. Like, if you can do it when the thing is actually happening. So if they are like messing with you, like like basically breaking the law, you need to take action, then. Like, I wish I would have knew that, because otherwise I would have gotten her arrested. And I really wish that was the case at this point. But I mean, I didn't know that at the time because I never dealt with this before. But it's something to really consider when. So that's not legal advice by any means. That's just like, it's also for safety. You know, you don't want to have to wait.
The problem with this, and I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who's going through something, and he's been assaulted by his soon-to-be ex, and it's hard for men to press that button. And the thing is like you said, I mean, when it happened, they did it, they would, I mean, it would be a different scenario, but it's hard because it feels weird to do that. So anyways. Yeah,
exactly.
All right, man.
And if you want to cover your tracks, because the last thing I'll say to your viewers is the last thing, if you're the most likely the man and this gets dismissed or anything like that, since my TPO got dismissed, I was like calling the police. I'm like, hey, it's like, is there anything I can do? Like, she's been doing all this stuff. Like, can I do something now about it? Because I'm worried about myself, my family, my kid, you know, stuff like that. They record those conversations. So like the next time something happens, you can say like, hey, and they'll give you like a case number. So they'll give you a case number that you can print out that conversation and basically like, hey, look, when that TPO or whatever got dismissed, I was over there calling the police, you know, like to see if, you know, because I was worried.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
This wasn't just like me. And also you can call like the domestic violence. I think like there's a hotline number for it. All you gotta do is like call them, and then maybe screenshot that conversation, like the details of it. And you can say like, look, this is what happened. Like I'm worried. I want to know about my resources. So in the future, when you have to go to court, you can show that type of stuff. So anyway, that's my kind of my thoughts onto it. But I really appreciate the call, Duane.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Give an update. Hopefully that helps anybody. Thanks,
hopefully.
Duane. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right. Let me...
Bye.
Oh, you know, guy, and one thing I want to add on to this, for anybody out there who's, I mean, okay, so the trend, the stereotype, I'm trying to think of the right word, is for that to happen to the guy, right? You know, something happens, the guy gets a TPO, and you're freaking out because you're not able to get to see your kids. From the 5+ years now of doing this channel, I've seen multiple times, as long as you don't make a mistake, if you get a TPO, calm down, go through the first hearing, and most of the time, if you haven't screwed up, you're going to get, it'll get dropped. And you also have to be careful with what iTumblers, the caller, was talking about when he was in the beginning of it. If the credibility of the accusation seems like a tit for tat, or seems like you're just trying to cause pain to the other person and they don't believe you, that's problematic too. And the last thing you need somebody to, especially a toxic, narcissistic ex, to feel emboldened or feel like they're winning, because it makes things significantly worse. I do want to say thank you to the moderators, and I think we have 2 on here. I think the Wise and James. Thank you guys for dealing with the craziness that is happening on the stream. We have a few people who are trying to have some trolley fun. So thanks for knocking that down. Appreciate that. I'll go to the next line here in a minute, which is another update, but let me just look through the comments. If you want to get my attention in the comments, make sure you tag me. You can do that by, hold on, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this. I'm going to pull this over here, and I'm going to stick it right there, and I'm going to pull this up. If you want to tag me, all you have to do, or anybody really, is hit @ on a computer, DSD, and then say, question, why are your streams so awesome? Question mark, right? So then I see it with the orange, it pops up, I can search on questions, and it makes it so much easier for me to figure out whenever someone's trying to talk to me. So if you have something, question you don't want to call in or whatever, you can do that there. Let's see, I am going to just double check the comments real quick. It looks like other than the troll stuff, I'm not sure. Let's see here. Okay, I'm just trying to look through some of the discussions. But what I'm going to do, because I only have a limited amount of time, is I'm going to go to the next caller. Let's see. You know what? Actually, before I do that, I want to see. There's some hotkeys. Drop the current caller. Mute the current caller. Huh. How interesting. I wonder if I can actually program hotkeys. I asked this company a while back. I'm like, hey, can you do hotkeys? That would be super awesome. And it appears as though they may have done that. Anyways, I'm going to go to the next line. So let me do that right now. Hello, welcome to the show.
Duane, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good, man. How are you doing? It's been a while.
It's been a while. I'm hanging in there. I'm actually flying to California tomorrow. And you recall I live on the East Coast, but I'm a California native, so I'm looking forward to coming to my home state.
Nice.
And kids will be with mom for Memorial Day weekend. Was supposed to be mine, but I gave it to her. I mean, as you know from the last time we talked, I've given up a lot of time with the kids, but
yeah,
we've had some good developments.
Oh, good.
If you so my yeah, I mean, so one of the things is the kids told the judge that they don't like me and they don't want to see me and all. You know, it's just horrible, you know. And there's actually a video out there on how kids lie.
Yep.
And and whether people can tell if they lie, and it shows that almost all professionals can tell when kids are lying, including judges, guardian ad litem, attorneys, therapists. And this guy did all this research. He actually set it up really nicely. There's a whole TED Talk for it. And he's a doctor, so it's really well-designed research. And it basically shows that kids lie. And you can't tell when they're lying. And they lie a lot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean they're bad. That's just what kids do. And especially if they're being alienated, you can't hold it against them. They're just trying to survive.
Right.
So, my lied to the judge months ago. And the big breakthrough is that the guardian ad litem, I talked to her a few weeks ago. She goes, I don't know what you're upset about, because I'm hearing from the people watching you. Because if you remember, I asked people to follow us around, to say, well, if they hate me, maybe you can give me some advice. I never thought they had any advice for me. The whole point of that was for them to see that I'm fine, that everything's fine, because I know everything's fine.
Right.
And what they told the judge was untrue, So I heard from the guardian ad litem, and she's like, oh, well, the kids, I heard that they're fine with you. I don't know what you're upset about. I'm like, I'm upset because I know they're fine with me, and I'm missing a lot of time with them. I don't, So I won't go into all the details on the schedule, but for months I was only seeing them for 2 hours for 1 2-hour dinner a week. I mean, just horrible. I mean, I think there's guys in prison that see their kids more. And how did that happen? I had a decent schedule. It's just the kids saying, I don't want to see you today. I don't want to see you today. And then the mother saying, they don't want to see you on the weekends anymore. They don't like, right, yeah. They don't enjoy hanging out with you on the weekends. I'm like, here's an example. Their mom just told me a few days ago, Jake doesn't want to see you anymore. And this is coming off the heels of another positive development, which is my son is starting to say he wants to stay later, even after the visit's supposed to end. He's asking to stay later. And, which is a big breakthrough when kids are like refusing or resisting or basically alienated.
Oh, yeah.
Then I think it's sinking in for him. What's going on? My daughter's a little more confused with her. It's tricky because, she's just trying to hit puberty. So the question, is it alienation or is it puberty? I mean, it's reality is it's probably both. I mean, you've been through this, right? Because your daughter's a little older. But I'd be curious to get your take on that. Do you ever think she had a real attitude? You wonder if it was alienation, and then other days you're like, well, her hormones are raging and it's hard. And how did you deal with that?
Well, the way I dealt with that is I had to realize that some of it is coming from the ex, but a lot of it is just the age stuff. Because the problem is it's so hard to see it that way, because you have a person who's actively trying to undermine your relationship with your own children. So you just assume everything is as a result of that. But, and that's what I did is I had to understand that there was more going on, that it's, you know, that even if everything was just perfect, kids oftentimes are going to have that, thing where it's just not cool to be into the, to want to spend time with your other parent,
right?
You know, with your dad or your mom or whatever. I mean, you could be the greatest family in the world and you could still have that. And I think it's important to remember that and understand it, because if you think all it is that your child is being brainwashed to hate you, which is part of that is true, but that's the only cause, then it just amps everything up and makes it worse and makes it harder to deal with, because you think that if it wasn't for the ex doing this, this wouldn't be happening. But the reality is it could still be happening, right? I mean, it doesn't help. I mean, it absolutely doesn't help, because the problem is that when a child's going through that and they have a parent who's an alienating parent, they're going to encourage it. Whereas if you are a good family, you know, you have an advocate. Like if the child's mad at you, but they get along with the mom, then the mom, or vice versa. You know, if it's the other way around, you know, you can sit there and say, hey, buddy, you know why, it's not really cool for you to be treating your mom like that. But when you have somebody who's an alienator, I mean, they might say that, but it's like, well, it's not, even though your dad's a piece of crap and I know you don't want to see him, you know, you really shouldn't do that. Right. I mean, so it's like, it's not helpful. So that's my take. And that's how I had to deal with it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I agree with you, whether it's puberty or alienation, anyway, your response always has to be just to be chill and, you know, just to be very non-reactive and really be in the moment and just be, you know, not get, because when you get triggered, they react to you.
Absolutely.
And then they pull away. And so it's that, I mean, it took me, as soon as my son started rejecting me in summer of 2018, I started researching parental alienation. I recommend anyone, if they think this is happening, they should really study it, because once it starts to get worse, it's really easy. And you and I have talked about this before. It's really easy to actually make it even worse yourself.
Oh God.
Because you don't know how to handle it well. And
man, you are so right.
And even with all the research, I still make mistakes. I'm not perfect at it. That's for sure. It's horrible.
Dude,
it's just a horrible situation to have your kid reject you. To not get triggered is tough. It's hard.
I know. And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's it. I think that's one thing that people need to understand. And I know I've said it in my other videos, but even me, right? I mean, I've made mistakes. You are going to make mistakes. Now, hopefully the channel and the information will help you minimize the mistakes, and also help you that when you do, because I mean, there are ways to recover. But I mean, I've made my own, and I've learned a lot of the stuff that I've learned that I share with people are from my own mistakes, that when I responded badly to my children, because I thought that the behavior was because of the ex, not because they were so freaking stressed and freaked out and filled with anxiety because of the stupid situation, that they were responding not because they were being programmed by the ex, but just because they were so stressed. I mean, it's like anybody. I mean, when I get really stressed, I get more angry. I'm more prone to snap at people. I mean,
absolutely.
And
that's what's so insidious.
Yeah.
That's the aspect of parental alienation. What you just said is the huge variable that most professionals, that judges, that lawyers just do not understand.
Yeah.
I've even seen a video where they explains it really well. He's like, you know, there doesn't even, I don't even think there has to be bad mouthing. You know, we have the 17 signs of parental alienation. Man, I love Amy Baker, but they put way too much emphasis on the bad mouthing. I don't know if X is bad mouthing me. I think it's just a lot of it could be subtlety. I mean, I've been doing a lot of research. Yeah. We've talked about this before on cults. And if you read about these cults, it's not like the cults are saying, you know, reject your family, you know, give us all your money. I mean, it's very subtle. It's all these people who are good at manipulating, whether it be, you know, people who are confused that join cults or children who are more confused than cult members. I call alienated families mini cults. I call it the biggest cult in America. That's my new thing. And it's the biggest cult in America because the biggest cult is actually, whether they say Mormonism or Scientology, they're all fewer people in those religions than you have in if you count up all the alienated families, and it's like it's just an epidemic, and it's crazy. The other thing I wanted to talk about was just this whole backlash against parental alienation, which I don't know if you're seeing this, where there's, again, like we always say, we have nothing against women, but there are some women groups or some women that are, there's jerk men too that are alienators and narcissists, but the women seem to be characterizing parental alienation as this plot by men to use it against them. And obviously not all women, but just some women are doing it. And it's really disturbing, and it's like it's getting some real momentum, but it's going to fall upon its face because there's no logic behind it. There's just none. First of all, there's plenty of male alienators, and you see videos from lots of moms complaining about dads, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, just because if there was abuse, that's not parental alienation. I mean, one of the core pieces of the definition of parental alienation is there can't be abuse. And so if the judge missed the abuse, that's just a failed abuse case. It's not, you can say there's parental alienation, blame it on that, but the judge failed. He missed the abuse. Like, if you got distracted by parental alienation, you can't, that's like saying, somebody abused somebody sexually abused somebody and it was a false accusation. So sexual abuse is a horrible thing, or sexual abuse accusations are horrible. We shouldn't listen to them anymore. Well, like any abuse claim, it could be misused, and that's probably all that's happened. And I don't think it's happened that much.
Well, the sad reality, I think, on the parental alienation thing, especially towards moms, is men have a stereotypical way they interact with their kids, which can be used against them. Right. I mean, which can be, that can be weaponized, and your standard behavior can be pinpointed to try to show that you're doing something wrong. The same thing with moms. I mean, you can turn around and when they're doing the my children this and I'm doing the, they look like they're taking control and they look like it's easy to weaponize that too. I mean, so everybody has to be careful on how they're being perceived within the family law system. Now, the caveat is, or the thing is that in the old days, maybe 10, 15 years ago, it was more biased than I mean, it's biased still, but it was a hell of a lot more biased before. You were not getting 50 people like me were not getting 50-50 custody, 20 years ago. You'd have to really, that was abnormal. Now it's more common. Like even iTumbler's call, him trying to put in a TPO, a guy trying to put a TPO in 20 years ago would have been laughed, wouldn't even have the opportunity to do it. Right. The difference is 20 years ago.
That other guy, by the way, was really, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the reality is 20 years ago, they would have probably, if it was the other way around against a guy, they would have just believed it. And, you would have got standard visitation or no visitation. They could have put him
in jail just based on her
exactly.
screaming and,
exactly.
But the other thing I was going to say about the last guy, cool guy, tough situation, but I wish I had his situation. I wish the other parent in my situation was that stupid. And, it's really, these cases can be really hard if your ex is clever.
Oh, dude.
And you and I've talked about this before, Duane.
When they're overt in their actions, even though it sucks, it's better because it's more out, and it's more like what the guy was talking, iTumbler was talking about, the last caller, the judge saying, hey, look, you do this again and I'm going to basically file criminal charges against you, but then in your situation, your ex is a master manipulator, is a public figure, knows how to present herself, and is able to do it so subtly that you're beating your head against the wall and no one sees it because it's just under the radar. And that's enough to drive you crazy.
Yeah. And if I was talking to anyone else who hasn't gone through this, I know people look at me and wonder, is this real? Is anyone really that manipulative?
No, they don't believe it.
And because unless you've really dealt with it, you don't know how. I didn't know. I never dealt with people like this until I met her, and I didn't even figure it out for years.
See,
once I finally realized how manipulative she was, I was like, oh my God.
Let me ask you this, and I don't know if I've asked you this before, but I can definitely relate to this. If somebody would have told me my story, 5 years before it happened, I could not see it, and I would not have had the understanding, and I would have thought that there was something wrong with them. That's the problem with this, is that until you've been through this, then you understand it. Like, you know,
Yes.
before, like you said, you were living it. So you fundamentally kind of knew. I mean, subconsciously you knew, but you didn't know. If a future version of you would have come to you.
I still didn't fully get it.
I know. And that's what's so tough about this is you could be talking to somebody who's going through the exact same thing. I mean, you can see it. You could look at them and go, oh my God, dude, you're a few years out from divorce and it's going to be a nightmare. And they're not going to see and understand what you're saying until they go through it. And what sucks about it is that means you, when you're going through this, you have zero support. No one understands what you're saying. Right. They look at you like you've grown a third head.
That's huge.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Oh my God. Like, I'm traveling to California. I'm having a dinner tomorrow night with 8 guys I've known since like 3rd grade and 5th grade and 7th grade. I can't talk about it.
Yeah. These
guys love me. They're like my brothers. But if I start talking about it, you know, they don't want to say too much. They don't want to be dicks. But I know they're not that supportive. And I know what they're thinking. They're thinking, what's wrong with him?
Yeah.
What? Just get over it.
See,
Even my own lawyer doesn't get it.
Yeah. And the sad reality is when one of your buddies goes through the same thing, then at least you'll be able to talk to him and, you know, help him through it. And that's what's so scary about this. One of the reasons why I created this channel is because when you're going through this and you're talking to people and you're trying to get validation and people are looking at you like you're nuts, and that why are you making a big deal out of this? Or the one I love the most is, well, if it's both of you, if you would just stop being stupid, then it would stop. And it's like,
right.
And it's like,
right.
And right. I remember when people said that
you
to me.
You guys need to, right.
Yeah. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking do this. I want this to be done. And there's nothing. I mean, I'm 9 years into it and I'm still doing it.
Marriage.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I saw in the last years of the marriage, we'd go to therapy and he'd go, you guys this, you guys that. I go, listen, I don't know how to say this, but it's not me, it's her. You know, like, maybe that's not the thing to say in couples therapy, but I've kind of finally figured out what's going on. And she got better at playing the game is all she got better at, not at, you know. And that's that part you talked about, the isolation. That is huge because when you're trying to fight this and you're losing your kids and you have the money, and then on top of it, you have no support. I mean, I'm actually thinking of starting a meetup group just for this. The only one I see in my area is run by a lawyer, which feels so predatory. I'm like, why the hell is the parental alienation support group? One's run by a therapist, which isn't bad. I've been to that one. And everyone hasn't seen their kids for 4 years. I'm like, these people, this is too depressing. I still see my kids. It's just, you know, I'm dealing with alienation, but it's not like where I've lost them, you know, because I'm doing a good job. I'm fighting it effectively.
No, you are doing a good job.
As effectively as you can. And it still feels like I'm losing sometimes. But the big point that you made was around the support. And I came to the conclusion, Duane, I've met some people in the last few years. I seem to be attracted to other people that have had some pretty crazy lives. And earlier in my life, I had like these people who had great backgrounds like me, great educations, you know, kids I grew up with. I've been, like my buddies that I'm going to see tomorrow night when I fly to LA. And it's like, you know, but the people that I've met in the last few years that have really supported me are people who've been through trauma, and not even parental alienation. People who've been through trauma. And then you start to realize I've been through trauma, and that's why I connect with people who've been through trauma. And these are the only people
that's a good point.
who can empathize with me. And it's so I would just say to anyone who's dealing with this, you know, sometimes the only people who can help you are other people who've been in trauma, because it doesn't have to be another alienated person. It just has to be somebody else who's going through a really hard time, because this stuff is just hard, man.
Oh, it is. Yeah.
I mean, they say the suicidal ideation for people going through this is something as high as 50%.
I think it's probably more than
that. And the actual suicide attempt rate is like a quarter or a third who actually try to kill themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really bad.
It is.
It's really bad. And you know, I don't know. Once I resolve my situation, I always say I'm either going to become an advocate, you know, as a parent, and I've turned it around, but I'm still going to become an advocate. Maybe I'll wait a few more years, but if I get screwed somehow by the system, which, you know, I try to stay positive and not have, you know, negative self-fulfilling prophecies, but you know, it could happen. I say if that ever happens, I'm going to put all my energy into fighting this thing, because, you know, it's a scourge of families around the world, and you couldn't imagine you actually going through it until you're actually going through it. It's just mind-boggling.
You are
But
you
I
are
said
so
my
right,
piece,
man.
Duane. It was really nice to connect with you.
Yeah, thanks for calling, man. All right. Let's see. Wow, it looks like the hotkey worked. So, hey, the one thing I do want to mention on this, and he brought up a really good point. This is trauma-based experience. So even though don't look at your situation and say, well, I haven't been through trauma. I didn't go to Iraq or a war zone, or I haven't been in a, violent attack or something. It's the same thing. Your whole world has been ripped upside down, and it is trauma. That's why trauma therapists, trauma support groups, are so effective on this, is because it's the same type of thing. You are dealing with the trauma and you're dealing with the betrayal of trust. I mean, it doesn't even have to be betrayal as in like a cheating scenario. It's still a betrayal of trust. Anyways, so thank you, caller, for calling. So I think I hit that button too quick, so I apologize for that. Let me see if I can see. Let's see. Let me see if I can do can I do a search just on? Oh, Jackie says, are the regular live streams back? Unfortunately, no, they are not. I'm still kind of in a weird scenario or situation, so it's still ad hoc. That's why it's so important to, let me hit the right button. It's so important to sign up for let me go back. For the live stream text, which I know, Jackie, you can't do that because you're in Australia, but for people in the United States and Canada, if you text DSD Live to 1-844-598-0012, you will get, when I remember to do it, a text notification that I am going live. Again, that's texting the words DSD Live, L-I-V-E, to 1-844-598-0012. I'm looking for the rest of any other mentions. See, now they added the company actually added the search thing, so I can look at anybody who has tagged me. So, and I do not. Otherwise, chat manager says, don't forget to mention the DSD Discord. So I do have a Discord, and the best way to find that is to go to the main DSD YouTube page. On the banner, trying to remember what those banners are. So I got the link for the web page, link for PayPal if you want to support just by doing a PayPal direct donation, and this little, they changed the icon. Oh, that's interesting. It used to be a little like controller. That is the invite link for the Discord. You can also find it in the video descriptions. Just scroll down and hit the link, and that will get you into, or at least into the beginning sections of the DSD Discord. Then you have to direct message me to let me know who you are, and then I will get you in. So definitely, if you're looking for support from people, check that out because it will be helpful, and it's a lot better, in my opinion, than a lot of the Facebook groups. Because like what the last caller was talking about, with a lot of the people who are just stuck in so much negativity, it gets really depressing. Oh, hi, Tumblers. Thank you so much for the super chat. Let me, how do I pull that up? I thought there was a way. All comments, favorite comments. Let me go down to the bottom. All right. Hi, Tumblers. It says, gradual smart offense is necessary and boundaries. Yeah, you have to be strategic in how you fight this stuff. And you have to make sure it's effective. Because the worst thing that you can do, is you swing for the fences and lose badly, right? So for instance, and the first caller had that situation played out as, he was chastised completely, ordered to pay attorney fees, whatever, and it basically emboldened the ex, that would be a problem. So be very careful about that. All right, I'm going to go to line 4. Can I hit a button to do that? Let's see. Move next available caller to live. Ooh, let me try that. I'm going to go to line 4, and I'm going to do a command N and see what it. Oh, that didn't do anything. Oh, was it command N? No, that didn't work. God darn it. What am I doing wrong here? Hold on. Move next available to live. Okay. Control N. Oh, it's working now. Hello, welcome to the show.
Hello, hi Duane.
Sorry about my technical difficulties. I was trying to use the new features. So hey, it looks like you have an update with maybe a court win. So what's going on?
Yes. So, how can I start? Okay, so we did have 50-50 custody since the divorce, and this is my significant other's ex, right? Is not my ex.
Right.
But that changed in the end of last year. She started creating rumors against me.
Right. I remember that.
Ever since you remember that. So ever since she separated from her current husband, she started saying that I was aligned with him in a criminal whatever, and I wasn't safe for the kids. So she prohibited the kids from coming over, and she will make the rules and break the rules herself. So we had no other choice but to go to court.
Right.
So we did we filed the content, and we basically won in court.
Oh, that's good.
The judge gave us the 50-50. Yes.
Okay.
He gave us the 50-50. The therapist came, and they did say that, they have no reservations against dad, that he's a good dad. That mom basically put the kids in the middle, that they feel like they're betraying mom when they go to dad.
Yeah.
So that was good.
Yeah, that is good.
We filed all the proof that we had of all the allegations she made against me. She walked every single one of them back. She said she never said that. She never referred to me as a criminal. But at the end of the day, the judge doesn't want to hear it.
Right.
It's like, if the therapist says that it's better for the kids to go 50-50, that's my ruling. Which is it's bittersweet, right? We got what we went for.
Yeah.
But it never feels like a win.
Oh God.
Because
you are so right.
It's like you don't feel like okay, so the judge saw her for who she is. You don't feel like you get your point across.
I know.
You just feel like, okay, we got something, but it's not like, okay, she's dangerous and nobody else knows this. Like you can't get the point across because nobody cares. But it was an emergency hearing. So the next one will be probably in July, and that's the final. And we are debating if we want to fight for more than 50%. Given that she's behaving so
is she still planning on moving? I know all this was predicated or kind of the whole catalyst of this was to get full custody to be able to leave the state. Is that still in work or is that not?
Well, she did ask for 70%, so she could leave the state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically, the judge said no because he gave us the 50-50. But that was not why we went to court, because she really just used that to manipulate.
Right.
It's like, oh, we need this done. Well, I'm moving, and she would want something from us, and we would say no. Well, good thing I'm moving. She would always use that against us, but she never made a move to move.
I think oftentimes what they do is because a move away is the trump card to force a custody change, because if somebody's moving away, then somebody has to get full custody. And the sad reality is that they can throw that around, and if they win, they can move, or they can, run it through the ringer. And then at the last minute decide, well, you know what, I'm not going to leave. And then the custody will stay the same. So it's one of those things where it sucks because there's no consequences for it, right? I mean, you would almost hope that if somebody said, and this is what happened in my situation. My ex was like, I'm leaving, I'm taking the kids, and I'm going out of state. And as soon as it became apparent that she could leave, but she wasn't going to take the kids, then it changed. But there's no consequences, right? I mean, if they turned around and said, okay, well, you press this button, and now as a result of it, we were going to make the decision that, in, let's say, my situation, and just to be clear, it didn't happen, so it's not like they said on paper that I would have got full custody. It sort of looked like it was leaning that way. And if they would have just said, okay, well, you press the button and the answer's, no, and now you're going to get stuck with, he's going to have full custody, then maybe it would stop people. But the sad reality is, I mean, if I wanted, if somebody wants full custody, that's the way to, and everything else being the same, it's the easiest way to force the issue. Anyways, I digress. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but.
No, yes. And the one thing that made me, like, reality and court reality are two different things.
Yeah.
The
exactly.
Therapist, like, the kid's therapist and my significant other therapist with her that they used for co-parenting in the beginning, behind the scene told us that they are worried about the kids with her, that she should only have supervised visitations, that she's not safe for the kids, that basically the kids' mental health is in danger because of her. In court, they just said, well, they're both good parents and they deserve 50-50.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
I hate that. I've had that exact same thing. I've had the therapist, I've had people say, oh, you should have full custody, but they won't back it up. They won't say it. It's the most infuriating thing to have somebody turn around and say, oh yeah, we see it. I'm so sorry you're going through this, and do nothing to help you. It's infuriating. I'm sorry you went through that, but that is so common, unfortunately.
And for me, that is so irresponsible, because now you have in court record that the therapist has been following the kids for 3 years, that she's a good parent.
Yep.
And that she deserves 50%. No, and that was the only thing the judge heard. It was that, no matter what we said.
Well, it's because the problem is what they ultimately think is they think, okay, these people are immature, they're being stupid, they don't look at it as if it's a mental problem or abuse. They just look at it that, mom's basically a good mom, dad's basically a good dad, everyone's basically fine. And that's what they couch it with. I had my kid's therapist say, I remember at one point I was having a private meeting with her, and she makes a comment basically like, well, you guys are both good parents. And I just looked at her like, what's your definition of a good parent? And she kind of looked at me and she goes, well, I have clients where the parents are putting cigarettes out on the kids. And I said, okay, well, there you fucking go. She's mother of the year because she doesn't put cigarettes out on the kids. I mean, and I know what you're talking about. And I bring this up just because you guys need to understand, everybody listening to this needs to understand that this system isn't fair. It's not black and white. You're not going to walk in there and everyone is going to see what you clearly see because you're living it and back you up. I mean, somebody, with Wise Chat Manager said, caller, unless they put it in paper, it's pointless. And that's the reality. Unless they are willing to say, you know what, my professional evaluation is that these kids are in danger or they're being emotionally manipulated and abused. And the mom, in your situation, the mom needs serious help. And until that help is achieved, custody needs to change. But nobody's willing, most of the time, nobody's willing to do that. And the only way you could probably do that is if you guys are willing to go back to court, hire a expert on your dime to go in and do it. It's really, really frustrating.
And I wonder how much they can get away even with an expert. I really do wonder, because for me,
it depends. It's one of those things where it's like, it's a crapshoot. And I don't even think it's a 50-50 chance, whatever. I mean, red or blue or red or black or whatever on the roulette table. I don't think it's even, a 50-50 odds. It's worse than that. So it is really, really tough. Now, one thing I want to say before we wrap this up. You mentioned that you guys basically had this victory, but it didn't feel like a victory. And what is one thing I want everyone to hear out of this is you have to recognize the victories, because so often it feels hollow. There was another person who commented, I think it was Count Dracula, that said that they got 90-10 custody and it didn't feel like a victory. I'll tell you, when I got 50-50 custody, which was a huge victory, I basically got everything. I mean, she wasn't able to leave. I got 50-50. I won almost everything that I was asking for, kind of like similar to you guys. And after it was over, I felt like I got my ass kicked. I didn't feel like it was a victory. I didn't feel good. I felt like I lost. And it's important to take a pause and recognize when you do win, even if it isn't the way you want. Because I know what you're saying. It's the same thing. I was hoping that the court would turn around and say, you, ma'am, are a mess. We see who you are. You need to knock this crap off. If you don't, these are the consequences. And, then maybe I would have walked out feeling okay. But when it's like, yeah, you guys are basically okay. Yeah, it's 50-50. Yeah, everything is fine. Okay, next. And you're like, what just happened here? I just lost $30,000 in court fees and custody evaluations and extra bills and crap. And I got exactly what I asked. I mean, it was like, what was the point? And that's the way that's kind of, it was not, I did not feel like I won.
And it's funny when the judge said, well, you guys need to start communicating better.
Oh, yeah.
Excuse me? If we could, we wouldn't be here spending this much money.
See, the thing...
And do what...
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say the problem is, okay, our experiences are unique. And we're all here together, right? So almost 100% of us have had the same experience. So it feels like everybody is dealing with this. Well, the reality is not everybody is dealing with this. Not everybody has a toxic, narcissistic ex that probably has an undiagnosed mental personality disorder or some other underlying condition. But everyone's divorce starts out as a crap show. So the courts and a lot of the other people, they see people, they're doing the stupid stuff. They're fighting over the couch. They're fighting over everything. They're just trying to lash out, and they see that after time, people calm down. My attorney initially told me, he says, well, this will get better when when she calms down. And then later, as things progressed, they told me she's never going to change. Right. I mean, so, there are probably, I would say probably the 80%, maybe 60-80% of the people have divorces that are suck, because divorces suck, but that you can co-parent and you can communicate and you can do handoffs and you can go and do soccer, the soccer games together, and everyone can basically be semi-friendly. And then you have our situations where the person is just so freaking difficult that it doesn't matter. They will never change. But the courts don't see it, but they treat it like, okay, at some point you guys are going to stop, you're going to knock this crap off, and everyone's going to be fine, and it'll get better. But the reality is, and I'm an example of that, 9 years going through this, dealing with the same crap, the same stupid crap. Some people have other underlying issues. Sorry, I kind of went on a tirade.
And just, one last thing that I want to say. I heard what iTumbler said. I think it was the first caller. And it's so hard to make things stick. So I do feel like she was stalking me, because she has...
Oh, of course.
Crazy allegations. She has records of me it's just crazy. But see, we can't even use her actions against her. So she hurt a person about a year ago, and she claimed self-defense. Nothing happened, because she is this frail little thing. Yeah. And she was just defending herself. That can even be used in court to show how toxic her environment is. Yeah. That every guy who came in after my significant other left in a situation like this, where she had to defend herself, quote unquote. But see, you can even use that. And I know. She really did hurt a person, and that cannot be used against her.
Well, the reality is, there's nothing illegal for someone making, as long as those life decisions don't come up to be criminal, you can bring crappy people into your house, And it's so frustrating because, you know, you would hope that someone would look at it and go, okay, best interest of the kids. All right. You got a stable dad and, you know, and like in your situation, you know, the father's stable, you know, the kids would be more secure there. Okay, cool. That you know, we want the kids to have a relationship with the mom, but we're going to look at it and say, okay, well, she, you know, is obviously making some bad decisions. We're going to make some changes, but it doesn't happen. You know, I mean, they don't look at it, right? I mean, maybe if she was doing criminal activity, you know, and even then it'd be tough you'd have to get it proved.
But that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean, of course, this other case is being investigated aside. I don't even know what's going on, but
yeah,
the fact that she can walk away from a circumstance like that and still be called in court as a good mother just blows my mind.
Yeah, I know it's tough.
It just blows my mind. And
yeah.
To what iTumbler said, anything you do sound petty
Yep.
to them because they look like this fragile little thing.
You know what?
Nobody takes you serious.
What I want to say, let me pull this up while we're on the thing. Whoops, I hit the wrong button. So I did this interview. You probably heard me talk about it. If you go down to the expert interviews on my main page and you scroll over to the interview with Cordell, he actually talked about the approach, how you deal with that. And one of the things he said, and I was actually kind of surprised because when I asked him the question, I was thinking, you know, you just kind of to approach it a certain way. And he's like, no, you really want to approach it like you really genuinely, even though you don't care about this person and you think they're a piece of crap, you need to come across that you just want that person to get the help. You know, all you want is them to be safe around the kids, right? And to come across like you're really concerned, right? That's the only way you can communicate something like that to where you don't look petty. And it's a really fine line because it's hard to do, you know, and it's really hard whenever you're like, this person's a piece of crap. They're never going to get better. And you need to see through it. So if someone's dealing with this, and Miami Babe on this, if you haven't watched that interview again, I got it on the screen right now, or I did have it until I just scrolled. He brings up some really good techniques on how you deal with that to try to bring that point, to drive that point home. And that's the only way I've seen, that's effective in convincing the court that that's happening. I mean, the only other way is they have to be so over the top egregious in their actions that their actions speak for the words. But most people don't do that. Most people are so covert, or they can spin it to where, you know, they have a plausible deniability, or they can kind of explain it and it kind of makes sense. And a lot of times these people, because of their past and the fact of how they became, you know, narcissists, basically, they've had a lifetime training on how to deal with this. I mean, so you're effectively dealing with somebody who from the age of a child, because normally it starts in childhood, and has been living their life in real time, manipulating people and checking stories and seeing whenever they're, you know, dodging and weaving. And then you're coming along and you're trying to battle that, and you don't have the skill set to do it. And it's so infuriating because you can see through it, but no one else can. And you're like, oh my God, how can nobody see this? And that's what you're dealing with. And it makes you feel like you're crazy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The crazy making,
yeah.
Where she looked at me and said, I never told her all these things, that we have it on paper because thankfully we followed the hybrid no contact and put it all in writing. So
yeah.
In order for her to actually accuse me of something, she had to write it.
Yeah.
And that helped so much because now we do have it in writing, but it means nothing, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways.
Well, congratulations on your guys' victory. I mean, I know, you know, you got basically what you were supposed to have, but that's still a victory, right? So recognize that, celebrate that, and, you know, just keep fighting the good fight.
Yes. Thank you, Duane.
All right. Thanks for calling. Anyways, man, these things are so tough. Hold on. I hit the wrong button and it didn't work. yeah, you know, it's, I do want to go back to, well, I guess I've already said it, but just make sure you recognize the victories that you get. And it took me a long time to learn that, because it doesn't feel like there's many victories in this. It feels like it's just one nightmare after another. I did have a couple of comments that it's like I mentioned this during the thing. Count Dracula said, I got sole custody with 90-10 parenting time, and I still felt like I didn't win. John had said, when I got 50-50, I wasn't surprised, because that's what it should have been. Or should be. My ex, on the other hand, broke down in tears. And I'll just pause on that. I mean, I know in John's situation, he was dealing with a toxic ex, but everybody has to have realistic expectations. And the days of mom getting full custody all the time, you know, they're not completely over, but they're pretty much over. So if you're a woman or a mom watching this and you're thinking, well, I'm going to get 80-20, you may not get it. So you need to be prepared for it. You know, and, you know, 50-50 is kind of the norm. And like for me, that's what I'm like, everything I heard is I was going to get 50-50. It was going to be a little bit of a fight, but at the end of the day, unless I made a mistake, I was going to get 50-50. The ex, on the other hand, thought, you know, that she had it in the bag, and obviously it didn't happen. Ow. The other thing, Tiffany had said, DSE, when do these people get what they deserve? Okay, so this is going to be an answer that is not going to necessarily be popular, but you have to follow through with me on this and just listen for a moment. The thing you have to remember is they always pay for what they do. The problem is they don't pay for it in the way that we think they should pay for it. For instance, I wanted my ex run through the town square and exposed for the lies and deceit and the manipulation and all of that crap. And everyone to go, oh my God, you know, you're a horrible person. And then I could sit over there and I could be all like, yes, everyone sees it now. I've been validated and vindicated. It doesn't happen that way. What I had to learn, and this was a tough lesson, I had to learn and recognize that she lives a chaotic, crappy life. Things always go wrong for her. You know, the people in her life are problematic. And that is her life. And she cannot get out of it. So she's getting, let me pull this back up. Like in my situation, she's getting what she deserves. You know, even in the beginning part of it, when she was winning and she was smug and she would take her little finger and go boop right in my eye. I don't want her life. Because it was, she was winning and she was taking advantage of me. But at the end of the day, was she at peace with herself? No. Is she still dealing with, you know, whatever her trauma is and her insecurities? Absolutely. And I don't want any part of that. Now, would I like for it to be, you know, more overt, more consequences, more like, yes, see, you're dealing with it. Sure. You know, I mean, it would have been great when she got kicked out of her house and she didn't have a job and didn't have enough money. And she had to use our son's social disability payments to qualify to get the house. Would I have preferred that they said, you know, that she didn't get the house and that they made, you know, she had to move into a crappy rink-a-dink apartment? Yeah. But you know what? I mean, at the end of the day, I don't want her life. Tiffany, at the end of the day, your ex is a piece of garbage human. And they draw more of that life to them. You can escape from it. You can move on past it. And your ex 10 years from now will be doing the exact same thing. Now, like I said, it's not It's not the way we want them to get their comeuppance. We want it to be, just a crushing blow that everyone recognizes. We want at one point, I did, you want the kids to recognize it. You want everyone that's been with them to come back to you and say, oh my God, I now see that that you were right in what you had to do with, and I'm so sorry that I never dealt with it. But that ain't going to happen. Ain't going to happen. Anyways, so, all right. Hopefully that was helpful. You know what? I think I got one more caller I think I might be able to go to. So, actually there's a few callers. All right. Well, we'll go a little bit longer and see how it goes. So I'm going to go to the next caller. It looks like it's T Solo. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hey, Duane. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right. How you doing this evening?
Oh, I'm doing good. I was listening to some of these conversations, and it, brings back, all this stuff, and my thing started in 2016, and, it's typically whatever story, it's just some version of the same story.
Yeah.
And, one thing you learn about family court is, there's no justice. If you're lucky, you get what you deserve. And that's what I think you deserve is 50-50. And,
yep.
and, some people don't get that, and it's really sad. It's the most corrupt thing. And it's hard to get over that. I know that for me, that was the hardest struggle for a long time, getting through the process, knowing it's like so unfair and it's not just. There's no such thing as justice. I mean, you never will get justice like you want it because it's just a corrupt. It's the way it's run. It can't happen. So,
right.
You got to focus on the other thing. And one thing that when I started watching your videos so long ago, that really helped me was you do have to play the long game. And
absolutely.
That's so hard when you're going through it. So, like in my case, I just kept my head down, tried to keep doing the right thing, and. To make a long story short, it wasn't too long ago. My oldest basically come up to me, asked questions, and I went through the story, my version of the story, and I never said anything negative about the other parent. And basically, the light switch had turned on, and she goes, "I see it now."
Yeah.
And that to me, that's victory, and that's what. Luckily, we had a really good conversation, and like, there's no winners in it.
Nope.
But I think what happens is you learn is that. It's peace of mind, and I know I did the right thing through my situation, and I think my kid sees it, and they've actually acknowledged that. So at the end, that's how you win. It's like you said, if the kid knows that you've done the best thing you can do, and that's
Well, the thing I'll add on to that, the other benefit in your situation is and you're right, it's no one wins in this, but the other victory is if your kid starts to see it. And they recognize it, that reduces the chance of them repeating it, right? It's when they don't see it and they hide it. Oftentimes the normal trend is a child, when they grow up and become an adult, they will find the replacement narcissistic parent. I mean, whether it's their mom or the dad, and I mean, if they'll find it. And then they'll go through the whole thing again to try to reconcile it. So if they can figure it out early and you can deal with that in a positive, constructive way, and they can realize that, hey, it's not that, my mom, like in your situation, it's not that my mom hates me. It's that she effectively has a problem, and it's not personal. Right? It's not because, I'm not being rejected because I'm not worthy of saying it from the kid's perspective, because I'm not worthy of love. It's because my mom isn't able to provide that. And now, hopefully, you don't have to go find, like in your I think you said daughter, she doesn't have to go find a guy that'll treat her like crap that she can try to convince that person to love them. Right? I mean, that's a double victory on this. So, in my mind,
and Duane, one of the things that was so astounding, I've always tried to be a positive, never say anything negative, even though I wanted to so many times.
Yeah.
Like nobody, like the guy said earlier, nobody really understands this. Even your close friends, people that you've known all your life, you talk to them about it, they don't understand.
Nope.
I mean, they have it's impossible for them to understand. So when your kid looks at you and brings up the topic and she understands it and what happened, it is some closure. So now that as long as I told her, I said, now that we've kind of figured it out on your own, I'm not saying anything negative about the other parent. We can live our lives now, and we won't talk about it anymore. And that's kind of how I've left it. But it's just, it's just so sad to see people go through this, and really, it's you feel for them, and I know that I'm sure you're the same way. You can tell when somebody's been through it because they have that pain in their voice. You can tell it.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
it's just, but all the people out there, there is. The long game does work. I know it's not it doesn't make you feel the best at first, but really that's how you got to look at it. You've got to play the long game.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, you're spot on. Good for you.
Thanks, man.
All right. That's it, guys. You got to play the long game. You got to understand that this is going to be a brutal fight. The only other thing I would add on to it is, and I forgot to ask him how old his kids were. If and when your child starts to recognize this, do not use that, and he didn't, but don't use that as an opportunity to say, let me pull out the DSM-5 and I don't have it over here, pull out the book and show you, everything and let's talk about everything in detail. Don't do that. Recognize it, say yes. Like I said, you can use it as a discussion point to make sure to try to work on the issue about the kid feeling like it's something that they did. And that's the best way to approach that. Sorry, I got distracted by a comment. Let me double check some of the comments, and then I turned off the new callers, so there's 2 more people in the queue, so I'll go ahead and try to work through those. And so if you're on hold right now, go ahead and basically I turn this. There no more calls will be coming in, so we'll finish up with these last 2 callers. Let's see. All right, cool. Let me go to the next. We're going to go to line 8. Wow, we've had a lot of calls tonight. Hello and welcome to the show.
Hi, this is Mark.
Hey, Mark, how you doing today, man?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can.
Good. Awesome. Perfect. Duane, I found you on YouTube. So it was probably like a couple months ago. And this isn't really the same story, but it is a story of what I think is a narcissist. So
okay.
I was just fist pumping in the air, like listening to your YouTube videos about these behaviors from this other person. Basically, this is somebody I haven't seen since 2016. And she, in 2020, filed a restraining order petition in civil court, basically talking about my Facebook posts because I was complaining about people making stuff up about me, which is happening. So she just jammed a bunch of lies about me in this petition and said that we were in a dating relationship. Like, that is the requirement to get that restraining order. And that's basically it's for household. Yeah, it's really for household, family members, divorcees. Usually, like, it feels like a crime calling you because there's no asset or kids involved. So I should be at the bottom of the queue. But like, I'm in here talking to your people in chat, and it is the same thing as like what you're saying about narcissists.
They all follow the same patterns.
Charming in this. Yeah, no, it's creepy, and it's been horrible, especially with the lockdown and just being on court in Zoom in my own apartment, having to deal with this. Like, I don't know how people deal with this, but man, I don't want to like go off board because I want to keep it to where your listeners kind of relate. Just a lot of lies. This would be someone who would otherwise say that false allegations are extremely rare. Meanwhile, she's pretending we had a relationship, and she said I put my hands on her, and just events that never happened. So, I mean, my court date is actually June 1st. But she filed a petition in November, and the judge said, well, COVID has pushed back these hearings. Normally, I would have had that hearing in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So without having my story in the mix, she's been able to secure 7 months of just an emergency order, right? My side hasn't been heard yet.
Right.
Just watching your videos and the people in your Discord, I feel it. It's crazy. It's a big growing process. I'm so glad I don't have kids with her. Right?
Yeah.
I'm so glad we don't have a house or anything. Dude, but here's what's at stake for me. I'm in performance arts. I've been working at acting and comedy for like 13 years. And people have been pretty cutthroat in the entertainment business. If you haven't noticed. I'm not going to get specific about it, but people look for opportunities to tear each other down.
Yep.
And they look for opportunities to lift themselves up. So people would run their mouths about me to make themselves look good. And they call me dangerous. Basically, last year, I talked about COVID a little bit. I'm moderate. I'm not going to get into politics, but I didn't agree with them. So basically, I'm an outcast. So people started digging up dirt on me.
Oh, yeah.
And they found this girl's rumor about me from 2016. She had said I harassed her, which isn't true. She was mad about a Facebook post I made in 2016, and she kicked me out of her bar. And then I messaged her about it the next day. I was like, hey, what's that about? Well, I guess me messaging her is harassment. So she turned around and told everyone that I harassed her. And that, through the game of telephone, became sexual harassment, right?
Right.
And people like to spread rumors in that circle of comedy. And it got out of control. And I had, it would come up every 6 months or a year. Someone would say, you know, I heard this or that. And someone would say, oh, I heard you sexually assaulted a woman. Like, it got
Traction.
to a point where I couldn't take it. Like, I don't want to keep going. I could go any direction. I don't want to take anyone else's time. I just
no, but I
want to say
you know
thanks for making the community.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I mean, here's the reality, and it doesn't matter. Well, okay, obviously, if you had kids and married and property and, you know, whatever, that adds, it gives them more ammunition, but it doesn't still negate the fact that you have somebody, even if it's a short, I mean, like this isn't even a relationship. This is somebody you just slighted, and they're now taking advantage of the situation to basically destroy you, dealing with trauma on it because you're being accused of stuff that isn't true. You're also dealing with the fact that you know, like we all know, that if someone came up and said, I mean, if someone came up to me and said, somebody who I didn't, I mean, there are, okay, let me back up. There are a handful of people that if someone came up to me and said, oh, so-and-so did this, I'd be like, no, there's no effing way in hell. There's no way. I do not believe it. I don't know.
Right.
And
but you can't defend everyone.
Right. But I mean, but then there's other people that if you don't know, you're like, I don't know. And then you put that thought in your head, and then and then now you gauge every other interaction with that person with that story or that potential in there. You know, I mean, so yeah, she
was super convincing. Yeah. Oh, like she convinced people, and like I can't be bitter towards them because she tells a convincing story, and people lean towards protecting, I'm going to say, accusers. Yeah. When, you know, a lot of times it's a chick, but I see that this happens to everybody.
It does.
But people want to be protective, like society's protective of those who are accused. Right. Therefore, oh, well, she doesn't have to explain. She said it. It must be true. And so she's exploiting the fact that society is protective of that. And that is scary in and of itself.
It is. I mean,
yeah,
fortunately,
other people, like what they believe.
Yeah, I would say fortunately, the whole this aspect of the Believe All Women or the Me Too movement is starting to get exposed that people are lying and using it to hurt other people. The sad part about that is it's really damaging for the people who are real victims of these situations. The good part about it is it's not 100% believe. I mean, you know, you're dealing with the consequences right now because of COVID, and you're in this temporary order thing. And you know, more than likely, once you finally get your day in court, you'll be able to get this resolved. And it just sucks that you're having to spend 7 months, 8 months of your life dealing with it. But I appreciate you calling in and you know, sharing that this stuff is still helpful, even though you're not in the same scenario. And the last thing I'll say is, I just wanted to call and get it off my chest one more time before June 1st. I'm going to go out of town, hang out with family, recharge my batteries. June 1st is the last thing. I think I'll be okay. But after this, I was just identifying with what you had said about my whole, like, thing in my head of, oh, I'm going to tell everybody, and then she'll be in the streets, and everyone will know she's a liar. And now I'm just, like, trying to plan my behavior after whatever the result is. At the end of the day, it's probably just keep my mouth shut, right? Or because it's not going to be what I think it is. Like she's not going to she may walk away from this unscathed. I have had these daydreams of her getting caught with this, and it's starting to happen where people who do this are getting in trouble and getting prosecuted, but it's still extremely rare, right? So yeah, you're right. I mean, you're correct. The likelihood is that it'll probably get dismissed. And nothing will happen. You know, it'll just be like, okay, this is over. You know, you go left, you go right, and that's it.
Right.
So If you
The only thing
can,
I'm worried about is she going to preemptively go out there and say, oh, this happened and he was lying about this. So just in case, like, is she going to start a shitstorm about this on the internet just to preemptively, like,
probably.
she thinks that I'm going to do that?
And
that's why I'm like,
you know, or what it'll be is it'll just be like, oh, well, he was a better liar. You know, I mean, it's that's what they do. She's, you know, it's and the reality is
that actors,
I know what you're saying. I mean, you guys are a cutthroat thing.
We are smooth talkers.
Yeah.
Like, she can just say, yeah, he's got good public speaking skills. He's a liar. But
right.
anyway,
Right.
I got the whole thing out there.
I know what you're saying.
Because there's no kids involved.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been hell just living in my mind, and I'm an overthinker, like a lot of people are that are in this community. And so it does shut me down when other people are like, just let it go. You can't handle it. That's not that easy. You know, especially when I feel like there's reputation at stake.
The crazy part about that is the answer. We all have to learn to let it go. The problem is it's not easy, and you have to get to the point where you realize that I can, you know, the Titanic is sinking, and I can basically try to, say I'm going to hold it up with my life vest, and it's not going to work. Or you get in a lifeboat. You know, you just have to say, you know, that, and that's ultimately what happens. And at some point you realize I can't save the Titanic, so I gotta save me. And that is when you get to the point that you can actually let it go. And until you get to that point, you can't do it.
Yeah.
It took me years to get to the point to find my peace with my situation. I mean, you know, so no, you're spot on, man.
And the other thing is, like, going into the next relationship, I just got to be positive and not compare it to someone like this, because it's not, you know, it's not fair to the next person. But thank you, Zeus. Thank you very much. I'll probably update you guys in Discord, but thanks for everything you do, and look forward to hearing back and catching up with your show. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. So, and that did not work again. Why is this not working? This thing's being a pain. Drop call. And I think either I accidentally dropped the wrong caller. Oh no, it's still there. I got one more person in the queue. Sorry about that. I'm sitting here trying to use the new features and it's not working well. You know, that's interesting. I appreciate him calling. And it's one thing I'll say is that, you know, this community, the DSD community, has fathers, has mothers, has grandparents, has situations like Mark, this last caller, who, you know, is none of the above, but whose life has been impacted by a toxic, narcissistic, you know, and I say that, I mean, in this situation, this person's even probably got other issues like BPD or who knows. And they come into our lives like a cone of chaos and just leave a path of destruction in their wake. So let me double check the comments, and then I will go to the last caller. So stand by, last caller. Let me see. The caller, there were some people who were asking who you were. If in the comments, if you could just say who you are so they catch that, that would be helpful. All right, I'm going to go to the last caller of the evening. Hello and welcome to the show.
Yeah, hi, Duane. It's a narcissistic abuse survivor.
Hey, I don't think I've ever talked to you on the phone. How you doing today?
Good. Yeah, it's just been a crazy week. I'm just grateful for. I found there's conversation earlier. It's about the restraining order and the custody order.
Okay.
I was just thrown out of the loop by my ex, and thanks for your Discord. I was able to. The live chat manager has been helping me a lot, trying to keep me at bay. And and it was my birthday weekend too.
Oh man! Hey, if you have the video playing in the background, can you mute that? Because I think we're getting an echo.
Sure.
Okay.
Sorry. So so it was my birthday weekend. No wonder she pulled out this gun, and I just realized she did the same exact thing last year. So she's on her 7th target, and it was my weekend. But she totally took the kids out of the county. So I ended up, I don't know if it was my mistake.
Oh no! What did you do?
Because I called in, so I'm supposed to have FaceTime custody or communication with my kids at 8 o'clock, and they never responded, which was kind of odd. And then Saturday came, I haven't heard from them, so naturally your instinct was start looking for them because, you know.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't know what
absolutely.
triggered
Yeah,
that,
you got to be worried about them. So did she filed a restraining order against you? Is that what happened?
No, she has an existing one, but based on that, because I had that when I was trying to go for custody, the judge actually amended that restraining order. So she put in a couple of notes in there for both of us, like specifics for pickup times at school.
Okay.
And she mentioned that we're not supposed to be taking our kids out of this county where we are now.
Right.
And basically, that's what she did last year. And then she did it again because now I realize when my kid mentioned that there's a new guy, I didn't realize it's a new guy, but literally it's a new guy again. So she's basically in her honeymoon stage with this new person and had to go out and ultimately ruin my birthday holiday. Problem is she sent me a message as soon as she came back, and I thought I was going to be arrested on my birthday. I think that was the original plan.
Probably, unfortunately.
Got me
Hopefully that didn't happen, right?
It got me so scared. No, actually she arrived late, and then just we did the handoff. But still, yeah, the tardiness from the handoff has always been consistent.
Right.
And then sent me a message like a few days ago saying, happy birthday, see you in court. It's just like she spun things around. She never even informed me or even. She's supposed to have a written consent, or we're both supposed to have a written consent to go out of this county. So basically, I don't know which one, because it overrides a special holiday, overrides our regular custody.
Right, yeah.
And then this RO thing is just what she's putting in on. So I don't know how.
Yeah, the problem is, man, I mean, so here's the thing. I mean, so you have to be really careful when they do stuff, because especially if you have a standing restraining order, then... I mean, the goal is to push your buttons to get you to do something that they could catch you on that you shouldn't do, right? And then so that's you got to not make sure you don't fall for that trap. And then the next thing is just to document that and to keep trying to show that to where the court finally sees it, right? I mean, to show that pattern, to say, Your Honor, like when you finally do get into court and say, look, last year you said you can't leave the state, you can't play these games, and the exact same thing happened. It was on my birthday, so it was targeted to interfere with this parenting time, and and roll with it that way. It's so frustrating. What you end up having to do, what I recommend for people in your situation is, I mean, it's completely irritating, and I understand you're concerned about the kids, right? Because you should have had that time with them, and then it didn't happen, and you're like, hey, what's going on? Is everyone okay? I mean, it's only natural to get worried. But then the flip side to it is, if they completely screw something up, you have to basically just take it on the chin, and then when you see the kids, say, hey, sorry I missed you on my birthday, but you know what? We're celebrating it now, so we're gonna have a cake, we're gonna have ice cream, we're gonna do the whole thing, and you make it special for the kids anyways. Right. I mean, go ahead.
Exactly. That's what I did.
Good for you, man.
That's what we did. And, I know now, because I haven't responded to her threats. It's basically like an aggressive email.
Yeah. I mean,
while we're using the OSW app.
Yeah. Well, use the hybrid no contact. I'm sure you've seen my video on that. I mean, it's like if she's coming around saying you're a piece of crap and poking you in the eye, don't get into a tit for tat. Don't take the bait.
Waiting on.
Yeah. Are you doing okay, man?
Waiting on if this is going to be just a bluff.
Yeah.
So far, yeah, it's just things that got brought up. I'm not sure if she's really taking me back to court for that violation, because technically I'll be thrown back in jail, because she threw me in jail last year with that cop. So basically for nothing.
Yeah, you got to be careful. That's what's really sucks about when you have a restraining order that sticks. You have to make sure that you follow that thing to a T, because you're not guaranteed that someone's going to look at it and say, oh, okay, well, under the circumstances, I understand why you did. oftentimes they'll say, no, you were ordered not to do it. You violated it. We don't care the circumstances, and now there's a consequence. So yeah, be very careful, man. So, but it sounds like you were.
Yeah, so since Monday, I'm cramming right now, trying to pull up all these documentations, and it's just crazy. What?
Yeah, hopefully you're right. Hopefully she's just using it. She's just trying to scare you, and she's just trying to basically, like what you're doing. It's like ruin your birthday and also make you worry about, you know, what's going to happen next. So just, you know, it's tough.
Yeah, because it's that in between with thinking about if I made a mistake or not. So even if I can still bring her back, it's just basically trying to raise the contempt again.
Did you win a contempt charge? Did you say you won a contempt charge against her last year, or did you get contempt?
No, because I realized by watching Alex's videos and what from your shows that, you know, you have to come up with so much that it goes beyond the threshold.
Right.
So basically now I can bring all those up again.
Yeah.
All the tardiness and the shenanigans that she's been throwing up in there.
Count Dracula mentioned on the comments, basically said, Count Dracula used to be a police or California police officer, said you would have been arrested already for the restraining order if he really was in violation. She's bluffing. And I tend to agree with that. That's probably the problem is that it's easy for us to say, I mean, you're living this, so it's stressful for you, right? I mean, because, you know, and I mean, there were times as things happened that I was paranoid that there was going to be, I mean, I had people telling me, well, you know, you're getting arrested, you know, cops are going to knock at the door. And I, you know, I know where you're at, man. You get under that stress where you're like, oh shit, what if that happens? You know, and then it's, you can't relax.
I know, basically, that's what I did the whole Saturday, just waiting for, you know, somebody to show up and take me to jail. And then my worry was, I think she's waiting for me at her house and get me arrested there, so it'll be in front of our kids, which was more frightening. But I'm just glad that didn't happen. So now at least I got all this paperwork. If she doesn't take me back, I'll be the one to take her back. Well, Count Dracula is the one who's just helping me out at Discord, so I really appreciate that.
Oh, cool. All right, man. Well, hang in there, man. Sounds like you're doing the best you can, and you're, you know, at least you're not making mistakes. So that's the key right there, man. All right.
I hope so. Yeah, I tried so hard to keep clean, and one blooper is all it takes, you know?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you are absolutely right. Well, hey, thanks for calling. Man, well, that was a little bit more stressful of a call, but I appreciate you calling. You know, these people like us to live in fear, like us to feel that we're powerless, that things are just in that mode. And a lot of times it's for them to take their bony little finger and go boop right in our eyes with the hope that you'll respond in a negative way and that they can then checkmate you in this scenario. Don't fall for the traps, guys. Don't fall for it. On that, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. And let me see if I can remember how to do all this. Thank you so much. I thought I was going to do an hour, not an hour and 40 minutes and 50 minutes. I think my son and I are going to watch a movie after this because he's actually with me, hiding in the room. On that, guys, thank you so much for hanging out. I know I already said that, but I appreciate it. I'm so miss doing these live streams. I wish I could do the morning show again. Maybe one of these days something will come up. Unfortunately, the way it is right now is I am stuck in this mode doing it the way I'm doing it. Oh no, my member thing isn't playing. Oh crap. All right, well, if it was working, I would be scrolling the channel members on the screen right now, and I would be saying thank you so much for clicking that join button and becoming a channel member and help support the channel and keep the videos coming and keep the lights on. I would not look this awesome if it wasn't for the studio lights. Here, I mean, if you look over here on this other thing, I got lights here. I got lights here. I got a light that's not working above me. It makes beauty light. Actually, it's a hair light. On that, guys, have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much. I hope that this gave you a little break, a break from your day, and you feel a little bit better about everything. And on that, I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.